Today, we're diving into a fascinating case study. It's about a company you've likely never heard of, but one that's in a position to potentially reshape the entire digital backbone of a nation. We're talking about Fanap Telecom in Iran, and this is a strategic look at its possible path to becoming a market leader. So, let's start with a puzzle. What on earth do Iran's banks, its sprawling oil fields, and its biggest cities all have in common? I mean, on the surface, they're worlds apart, but dig a little deeper and you'll find they all share one single, incredibly urgent need. And the answer is a totally new kind of network. We're talking about something that is fundamentally secure, completely sovereign, which means it's independent of the public internet, and it has to operate in real time. This is the huge, hidden demand that's driving a massive technological shift. All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down in this explainer. First, we'll look at that hidden digital demand. Then, we'll analyze Fanap Telecom's pretty unique position in the market. After that, we'll dive into 4 absolutely critical industries. And finally, we'll lay out the strategic roadmap for how they could win. Okay, let's get right into the core of the problem. You see, the digital infrastructure that's in place right now, well, it works, but it's just not built for the challenges of the future. And that gap, that's where the massive market opportunity lies. Now, to really get this, we need to be clear on what a sovereign network is. The easiest way to think about it is like a private digital highway. It's completely separate from the public internet. It gives an organization or even a country total control over who gets on, how secure it is, and where the data goes. It's all about absolute control and reliability. So why the sudden, urgent need for this? Well, it's really a perfect storm. You've got this national push for digital transformation happening. At the exact same time, cyber threats against critical infrastructure are just getting worse and worse. On top of that, new tech like AI and the Internet of Things needs real-time data that the public internet just can't guarantee. And frankly, the risk of a service like GPS getting disrupted is a huge vulnerability that key industries just can't afford. And this brings us right to the main character of our story, Fanap Telecom, an emerging challenger that is, believe it or not, uniquely positioned to meet this exact demand. So let's break down what makes them such an interesting player. You know, Fanap Telecom's real superpower doesn't actually come from its technology. It comes from trust. See, it's the communications arm of a much larger, well-established company called the Fanap Group. So it's inherited these incredibly deep relationships and expertise, especially within Iran's financial sector, which is, as you can imagine, extremely risk-averse. So if we lay it all out, it breaks down into a pretty classic list of strengths and weaknesses. The strengths are really clear. That built-in trust from its parent company, a comprehensive license to operate, and a powerful in-house R&D wing. But the weaknesses are just as stark. It's not a well-known B2B brand yet, its services are more about basic infrastructure than complete solutions, and it's reliant on the state-owned telecommunication infrastructure company, the TIC, for its national network backbone. So, where is this all going to play out? Where are the strategic battlegrounds where this fight for digital dominance is going to be won or lost? It really comes down to 4 critical industries where this new demand is absolutely exploding. The opportunity is spread pretty evenly across 4 key areas. Banking looks like the biggest immediate prize at about 30%, but it's followed very closely by logistics and energy. And then you have the really future-focused market of smart cities. First up, let's talk about logistics. With the massive boom in e-commerce, the pressure to get things delivered faster and more reliably is just immense. Logistics companies need constant real-time tracking of their fleets. They need to optimize routes on the fly. But here's their biggest vulnerability. They need a communication system that stays on even if public cell networks or GPS go down. A sovereign network is the perfect solution for that exact problem. All right, then we have the banking sector, where the stakes just could not be any higher. For these guys, digital transformation isn't just a nice to have, it's literally a matter of survival. For banks, it all boils down to one word: security. Cybersecurity is absolutely non-negotiable. They need networks that are always on, they need to replace their ancient systems, and they need ironclad secure connections between all their branches. For them, downtime isn't an inconvenience. It's a complete catastrophe. Now for the energy sector. We're talking about a country's most critical infrastructure here. Oil, gas, the electrical grid, the whole shebang. The number one need here is defense. The operational technology, those OT and SCADA systems that literally run power plants and pipelines, is a prime target for cyber warfare. So to protect it, these companies need isolated networks, they need two-way communication to build a modern smart grid, and they need industrial-strength connectivity to monitor all their remote assets. And finally, looking a bit into the future, we have smart cities. We're already seeing major cities in Iran launching big initiatives to try and solve urban problems using technology. A smart city needs this incredibly dense web of connectivity for millions of sensors. It needs low-latency networks for things like real-time traffic management. But the real secret sauce here is something called edge computing, processing data locally, right where it's collected, instead of sending it all the way to a distant cloud. It makes the whole system way faster, more efficient, and much more resilient. Okay, so we've analyzed the demand, we've looked at the key markets, but how can Fanap Telecom actually win? This brings us to our final section, the strategic roadmap. The entire strategy really hinges on finding the sweet spots, matching a specific market need with one of Fanap's unique strengths. For instance, they can take that inherited trust in the financial sector and pair it with their security services to create something like a secure financial cloud. Or they could combine their 5G research with the energy sector's needs to pioneer a whole new market for industrial connectivity. It's all about finding that perfect, powerful overlap. So how do they actually do it? Well, the analysis points to a really clear three-part playbook that could take them from just being an infrastructure provider to a real market leader. Okay, first, stop selling individual parts and start selling complete solutions, like that secure financial cloud. Second, they need to transform their sales team. Stop being product pushers and become strategic advisors who solve a client's biggest, most painful problems. And third, and this one is huge, offer rock-solid service-level agreements, or SLAs. For these industries, a guarantee of uptime isn't just a nice feature, it's the entire product. And this brings us to our final provocative question. The path forward demands a fundamental pivot, moving from being a simple infrastructure seller to a high-value problem solver. If Fanap Telecom can actually make that shift, it won't just be another successful company. It could become the very backbone of Iran's entire digital future.